Whoever said renovating a house is supposed to be glamorous?
Oh, you can see the porch. Our porch was painted white. Everything was painted white. The stairs were like in good repair. So that gutter's been gone since at least 2014.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Shannon Makes, where we love wavy glass, original features, and prefer cozy concept over open concept. If you're new here, I'm in the process of renovating and restoring this gorgeous Victorian beauty here in Nova Scotia, and today we're going to use Google Maps and their time machine feature to sort of look back in time at the lot next door to us and find out if it was another equally gorgeous Victorian beauty before the local developer that we met in last week's episode decided to tear it down and replace it with a ticky-tacky little beige box. If we can prove that that house was a stunning piece of historical architecture, we can pretty definitively say once and for all that I saved this house from certain destruction. But first, we're gonna take a little field trip, get out and explore the shoreline because we have a mattress to pick up. For context, if you're new here, I bought this house sight unseen without touring it in person or even visiting the province it's located in. We just packed the car to the gills with tools and drove down from Montreal to Nova Scotia with exactly zero furniture. So I arranged ahead of time for us to stop and pick up a secondhand mattress on our way down. You've seen it before, it's nothing spectacular, but it was cheap and it saved us from sleeping on the ground those first few days in the house. But it's also incredibly soft and it wasn't doing our backs any favors, so when this mattress popped up on Marketplace for free and was being advertised as firm, we hopped in the car and paid a visit to the seaside. Phil had to leave to go back to Montreal in 2 days, and so we spent his remaining time at the house ticking off some last errands on our list, things we wanted or needed to do together before I started on my solo adventure in the house. First thing on that list, picking up some lumber to redo the front balcony. Currently, it was in a really sad state. It was technically usable and the floor is actually in pretty good shape, just needs a little sanding, but the built-in benches were on the verge of collapse, having rotted through in several points. And since I do tend to take my coffee out there most mornings, it felt like a quick little home improvement project. Now, I wasn't planning on getting any plants, but they were on sale for $1.50, and I figured a house could use a little color and life, so I threw some in my cart. Time to go home, drop off the wood and the mattress, and load the car up for one last trip to the dump because there were a couple containers left that were so full of sludge that neither of us could lift them by ourselves.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Pretty good. What's the price difference? I don't know what are the rates. What's the
After doing a preliminary little scout of the other dumpsters to see if anyone before us had dumped perfectly good items that we wanted to scavenge, we then continued to dump out all this material. And I know a lot of you asked in last week's video why we couldn't just keep this on our property instead of paying to dump it. And first of all, we need less soil on our land, not more. So getting rid of it, definitely better. And also, secondly, it's not just dirt, it's full of tons of broken glass and rusted metal shards, old car parts, and just basically all sorts of other nastiness that I don't want on my property where my dog roams freely and where I walk barefoot in the summer. So for me, it was just a small price to pay to free up our basement. And no, don't worry, I'm not removing so much dirt that my foundation is gonna collapse around me. Did you get lucky? Did you get some kibbles? Hello friends! I regret that I have to come in here for this little PSA, but last weekend, as many of you know, I had this fun little incident where a scam account popped up, took my profile photo and my channel description, and then pretended it was me and went around to several of my videos responding to your comments, trying to get personal information from some of you. Some of the comments were trying to get you to call a number. I don't know. I reported it to YouTube as soon as I found out about it, and it seems like it was taken care of pretty quickly. They closed the false account, and I don't think any harm was done, but should it happen again, I just want you to know, I hate telephones. I'm never gonna try to get you to call a number. I don't want any of your personal information. The most personal thing I might do is to ask you to DM me on Instagram, to share photos if if we're having a conversation about some sort of creative endeavor you're working on and I want to see it. Eventually, once I hit 100,000 subscribers, then I can get that little check mark on my name, which I guess is a good reminder to subscribe if you're not already, but until then, if you see a comment from me that looks a little odd, hesitate and apply some critical thinking. Some good ways to know if you're really talking to the actual me or not: a healthy level of snark, an overly enthusiastic use of exclamation points, a tendency towards the British spelling of things, and above all, a healthy hatred of telephones. Now, unfortunately, that scam attack happened within literal minutes of me having made another completely legitimate community post about the problems with the Amazon wishlist. Let me tell you, it was just the weekend of technical issues and headaches, because some of you very generously tried to use it, but then reported that you weren't able to for many reasons, and there were just a lot of problems. Now, I do know a few of you were successful because some of them have already arrived. Thank you so much. But if you weren't successful, don't worry. It's not on your end, it's the Amazon system. There are lots of privacy concerns and international shipping issues, and I'm happy to report that I think I have it all sorted out, so it should be working. But also, some helpful viewers did pitch in to come up with creative alternatives. All you need for that is my email, which is down in the description. And for those of you who feel weird or inappropriate buying online creators gifts, I get that. I totally respect that. It's a very valid opinion, and I'm not gonna judge you at all for it. Like, I don't expect any of you to buy me anything, but I do ask you to remember that it is just that. an opinion. And as a somewhat public figure with an online platform, I'm subjected to roughly 30,000 opinions every week from all of you. And they are as beautifully vast and varied as you are. So while I would never have suggested a wish list myself, and I certainly don't expect it from anyone, when viewers asked for it, I did decide to do it, to start one and let people pitch in for those of you who wanted to be a part of this house's history if you want to. So if that's not for you, the videos will still appear on YouTube for free, the same as they always have. Nothing about that is changing, and I hope you understand. Okay, I think that's all with the nasty, boring online stuff. Let's go get back to the fun in the house, sludge slinging stuff. Quick refresher, in case you're new here, a couple episodes ago, we learned that Phil met the big shot local developer who had also put a bid on our house. Now, because he bid rock bottom, he didn't get it, obviously, but my assumption is that if he had purchased it, he almost definitely would have demolished it rather than trying to renovate it. He didn't say as much, so we don't know, but I kind of figure that if we discover that the house next door to us also used to be a grand Victorian era house that he demolished for modern construction, I think it's quite safe to say that our house would have met the same fate.
All right. I've actually never done this before. I mean, I've done Time Machine, but I've never done it for Google.
Just Google it.
Drag Pegman onto the map. Click see more dates.
We can see the tree growing. It was so small back then.
Oh my gosh.
It was kind of cute there.
And he's got a little pickup.
Yeah, it would park on this side.
Wow.
Alright.
It's hidden under so many trees. Also, this house is different too.
Might be able to see more
from different angles.
Yeah,
you think?
like move.
I really can't see any of this architecture.
Can we zoom?
But like here, you can actually see the house a little bit.
Oh yeah. Okay. Two full a floor and a
At
half.
least a floor and a half. It looks like it probably also had some neat architecture.
Yeah. We might be able to see more from
the back.
From the back.
Yeah, let's go around the back. Let's see what we can see.
Nothing. Maybe one more.
Google Maps wasn't giving us many answers because there were just far too many trees to see through. It was basically like a jungle. So we decided to try Google Earth instead. Unfortunately though, the resolution is pretty garbage for all of the years before that original house was torn down.
So it looks like it was, from the size of the roof, it looks like it was the same footprint-ish as ours, but we
bigger maybe.
learned nothing about the architecture.
Okay, so that was pretty inconclusive, unfortunately. So having discovered all we could about the neighbor's house, it does seem like a fairly safe assumption based on the little glimpses that we got, that it was another fairly large, possibly Victorian era house. There certainly are plenty around here, so it wouldn't be unusual. Plus, that roof line, those giant windows, it does strongly look like it used to be a big Victorian era home standing right where Tim's little duplex now sits. Interrupt here because breaking update, newsflash, this just in, and I do mean literally because that segment that you watched was filmed back in July, but just a couple days ago I got this. This is from Ronnie. Obviously, he is another super sweet neighbor. We met him in part because our land actually butts up against his, which actually reminds me that I haven't shown you our property lines yet, and I will do that in a future episode because they're not what you would expect, and we actually have kind of a surprising amount of land. But anyways, back to Ronnie. He is in his mid-60s, I'd say, and I dearly hope that I'm half as cool as he is when I'm his age because he is so active. He's always out there working on his house or his lawn. He's DIY'd basically his entire house. If he doesn't know how to fix something, he'll Google it or find a YouTube video. Basically, he doesn't let anything stop him. He's not afraid to try things, and he has an amazing selection of tools. He's lived in his house for a bit over 20 years, and naturally then when we met him, we did at some point ask him about the house that used to be there, because he lives just on the other side of Tim's. Tim's house, the house in question, is basically sandwiched right between our two houses. And he said yes, it did used to be a really big house. Yes, it seemed to be old, and then he gave us this, which he thinks he has some photos of that house on it. Now, obviously, these are photos of his house, kind of around the time that he bought it, but he does think that you can see the other house in the background. So we might have an answer to our question, but unfortunately, neither Phil nor I have CD readers on our computers with us. So we are probably gonna have to go down to the library or something like that to open this up, and we just haven't had time to do that yet. So please look forward to the continuation of this saga in upcoming episodes. Just don't have anything for you this exact moment. But anyways, as you saw, we'd hit a bit of a dead end with Tim's house and Google Maps, so instead we switched gears and started investigating the history of our own house.
Go 2009. So they had tall here. See, this one was already tall, but then they had chopped it and then they had regrew in 2012.
But when we chopped it down, that was like a hefty stump.
I know, but in 2012 they had chopped it. It had regrown. They had chopped it. It had regrown.
Oh, you can see the porch. Our porch was painted white. Everything was painted white. The stairs were like in good repair. Roof's in good shape. Okay, so they did have a gutter here. Look.
Yeah.
They did have a gutter on that. We'll go around the back.
Absolute forest.
Wow, there were so many trees there.
I go with 2012. So now the trees have been cut.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that whoever bought this house cut all the trees even though they're not his to cut. Even though it's our lot, he cut them all. Whatever, I guess, but it's a shame because it took a lot of shade away from that.
Was the gutter already gone? Yep.
So that gutter's been gone since at least 2014 and since 2012.
Okay, so decay has started.
Oh yeah, look at this gutter's also detached already in 2014.
Yeah.
Phil's last day at the house was spent running more miscellaneous errands, including going to pick up a bed frame for the bedroom redo that I had planned. But there was one thing that happened that last day that was both interesting and comical and fairly well documented.
Hello.
You're so high we don't see you. Wave. Oh, that's so silly. So why is Phil some 15 meters up in a tree on his last day at the house? Well, we wanted to get some drone footage from the house, the after shots from last week's before-after montage, but obviously things didn't go quite as planned. Jacob, you're probably laughing right now at this all too familiar sight because this is not the first time that Phil has lost his drone in a tree, but it is one of the taller trees he's lost it in.
I'm trying to see it. I don't know where it is. Because here I have access to cut any branch I want. Just find the right one. Oh, okay, I see it. Haha, yeah, it's pretty stuck.
So once he located the drone and then managed to climb the tree with a Sawzall in hand, he did end up shaking the drone loose while I waited at the bottom with a t-shirt just spread across my outstretched arms, kind of like one of those old school firefighter safety nets you see. And sure enough, I was able to catch it before it hit the concrete. Everything turned out just fine. The drone still works, and it was just a very comical moment to wrap up the first trip for Phil at the house. Yeah, is it drone rescue day, huh? Got it. So then Phil went back to Montreal while I stayed on at the house with some fun plans to make that bedroom significantly more aesthetic and livable and clean. My first day alone in the house, I had planned to be just a relaxing day full of pretty mundane chores and paperwork, everything that had been sort of neglected in the crazy rush of the past 2 weeks, but that did not go entirely as planned. Well, friends, I was not originally planning on filming today because, as you can probably hear, my voice is not all there. So I was just planning on sitting around the house and editing, maybe go out to Starbucks for some internet, do some basic chores, things that didn't require being filmed or speaking, but I just got a great deal on a dehumidifier on Marketplace. It was originally posted for 50 bucks. I got it down to 40, and I think this is just gonna make my life way simpler because now I can just leave that one permanently down in the basement, and I don't have to keep hauling the one that we have all over the house trying to dehumidify everything. So let's go get a dehumidifier, shall we? And wouldn't it be just my luck that on the way home from picking up the dehumidifier, I also found a free mirror on the side of the road. And while we're not exactly at a loss for mirrors around here, having already found some pretty cool antique ones in the house, a more modern mirror still seemed like a good find, especially for future crafting projects. Well, it may not be glamorous, but it's cheap and it's functional, and I think it's gonna save me a lot of time and effort in the coming days. But besides, whoever said renovating a house is supposed to be glamorous?
Let me see here.
He's like, wow, they're really fixing up the place. Look at him checking out our sink, seeing what he wants from our scrap metal pile.